what it is, guys. I'm sorry, but this is going to be a very different video from what I usually do. But after spending the day listening to Dragon Ball songs and like really taking a look at everything that Toriyama sensei did and everything he accomplished that influenced all these things that I love in my life, I just felt like I really should make a video about this because of the deep love and respect I have for him and to honor his memory. I'm sure most of you guys know, but Akira Toriyama passed away on March 1st of this month. And it's been crazy to me all day today, just looking at all these things that I love, just living my day out and going like, well, this probably wouldn't have been a thing if Toriyama didn't exist. I wake up, look at my One Piece hoodie and think One Piece wouldn't be a thing without Toriyama. I turn on my PS5, look at Final Fantasy VII, think Final Fantasy would have never been a thing if Dragon Quest hadn't existed before it. It's not just about how much we love Dragon Ball, but how influential and key his works were into inspiring other people to do their lives' work. I would go as far as to say that the shonen genre itself would never have been what it is without Toriyama's works and influence. You see, back in the day, in like the early and mid 90s, we had this huge influx of Japanese media and open television in Brazil. And one of the first things that I watched as a kid in my life were like the original Dragon Quest anime, the original Dragon Ball, Shurato, Saint Seiya, things like that. Besides all the tokusatsu that we had in that era too. And it was crazy to see how Dragon Ball Z, like it almost changed the genre from what the OG Dragon Ball was. It was like the anime was kind of growing up with me, right? As I got more interested in I guess, you know, these teenage things like fights and action and whatever. Dragon Ball kind of shifted too to what I wanted to watch at the time, which is really funny because today I think I actually kind of prefer the original Dragon Ball over all of Z, but hey, that's just me. And there was a time where Japanese anime, it just kind of fell off in Brazil. At least that's what I remember. But Dragon Ball Z kept that alive. It was so insanely huge that people just never stopped watching it. And it kind of made Toonami also become a thing in Brazil. And with that, it brought like other really classic works like Cardcaptor Sakura, like Rurouni Kenshin, you know, things like that. And things that I probably would have never experienced if Dragon Ball didn't have the huge explosive popularity that it did. And here's the kicker. I think that I became this huge weeb and I became so involved with like Japanese pop culture events in my young life because Toriyama sensei had this huge influence on all these other manga authors that would go on to make things that I also loved and loved so much, in fact, that my teenage mind would be like, you know what? I just like anime more than everything else. And that's what, you know, made me become what I am today. And not just anime, but the video game world too. Chrono Trigger changed my perspective on what a masterpiece game is. Even though I had played stuff like Final Fantasy IV before I played Chrono Trigger was what cemented in my head that these games with these deep narratives and charming characters, with this focus on their stories and their development, to me were just superior than the other things I actually loved, like Banjo-Kazooie and Crash Bandicoot. And what cemented the JRPG as my favorite genre ever, it was because of Toriyama. But also my channel, right? Something that YouTube probably doesn't like that I do is that I love writing, you know, videos about anime and about, you know, Japanese video games, which are the things that's where my hobby lies. That when I have free time, that's where I want to spend my free time, you know, either anime or Japanese games. And I wholeheartedly think that it has to do with that too, right? I would see Toriyama's instantly recognizable, you know, drawings in something like Chrono Trigger and the light would go off. It would be like, hey, you love Dragon Ball, you're definitely going to love this. And I wasn't wrong, right? I think that's what kind of blended my hobbies together, right? The Japanese games and anime. There was a point in my teenage years where I just found out that that's the thing that I love to do, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. So yeah, in memory of Akira Toriyama, and if you guys watching these, you're probably a fan of him as much as I am. I want to ask you to try and just go about your day and see all these things that you love doing and these hobbies that you're into, and actually see how Toriyama's works influence that. And if your tastes are anything like mine, I guarantee you that you're just not going to stop seeing so many things that he influenced. It was crazy. I was talking to some friends right now, and even though I'm not a part of that community, they have this huge fighting game community Discord server that they built around wanting to find people to play Dragon Ball Fighters with, right? And they became these really close friends, and they really can't imagine their lives without the relationship that group has right now. And it's all because some guy wrote a manga based off of Journey to the West in 1986. So yeah, like all day I've been seeing that the manga and anime industry, especially its popularity here in the West, we owe a lot to Toriyama Sensei. And whatever Toriyama Sensei is now, I really hope that he rests in peace and that he knows that he helped shape one of the best and most talented manga artists that exist, and one of the biggest fan bases of any like entertainment media in the world. And I'm pretty sure I speak for all of us when we say that we wish the very best to his family. That said, now I just want a marathon of the OG Dragon Ball again. And thank you, Toriyama Sensei. Thank you for helping me become who I am today. Really. No exaggeration.